Great.
All right,
You ready?
ready to go.
On the absence of the chair, I'll call the meeting to order and I would request the pledge of the allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you.
One thing before we start, I may have to leave early depending on how long I have to pick up people at the bathroom.
Let's get going then.
So get moving. So our last meeting apparently was August 22nd. You have the meeting minutes. You may have them in front of you. They have been also sent to you. What do you wish to do with the meeting minutes from August 22nd?
I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
I'll second it.
Motion has been made and seconded. Discussion.
No,
No discussion. All those in favor? That's 4 in favor, 0 opposed. New business. Initial discussion regarding self-service kayak rental proposal. Is this an initial discussion not requiring a vote? Is that, I will read that?
Yeah, that's correct.
Can I entertain a motion to push that to the end in case we need a vote before we lose our quorum?
Sure.
Does that make sense? I don't want to lose the quorum when you have, if we need to vote specifically number 4 is what I was thinking. I would entertain a motion to pick up item number 4 prior to item number 3.
all right, I'll second
Okay.
that.
Seconded.
You first it?
Sure, yeah.
Second.
Oh, I thought, okay, yes.
All those in favor? Number 3 goes before number 4, sir.
Hmm.
Okay, so number 4, which is coming first before 3, continued business discussion action on mural project for every town square additional panel.
Yes, so if you haven't seen it, obviously it's been installed. There was a good group there, sort of good publicity for the town. One of the things that was not thought of at the initial outset was the angle of it to angle towards Main Street, and then the impact of that empty space on the backside is now going to face the rail trail. Ron Malick, chair of the committee, also lead on that project, has spoken with the artist about creating an additional panel to cover that backside, something to the effect of welcome to Norridgewock, happy trail, something like that. And the artist has quoted him $2,500. So all of the posts and whatnot are set. Landscaping is pretty much done. It's a matter of having that last piece commissioned. That's your pleasure. But the budgetary estimate for that was $2,500, and there is some residual in the pre-existing approval for any potential overruns or miscellaneous supplies.
Just curious, how much is the residual that's?
I don't have that exact number because we still have a couple of slips out. But we did get a couple reduction in prices, and then like the refreshments that he had kind of budgeted for, those were donated by Duncan, things like that. So it's not a ton of money.
Right, I didn't think it would be, but just curious.
So the amount left over is minimal.
Right, it wouldn't cover that additional 25.
I have seen the mural. I have not seen it from the trail. But it probably does look a little stupid looking at the backside of a van, right?
If we put something inviting on the backside, it's not gonna
Like-
make them come to the front to actually look at it, because they'll be like, oh, that's just a welcome sign, there's nothing on the other side.
Or what it could say is,
Or,
please stop here to see the other side.
yeah,
I would, so this would be something that's fundamentally different than the 4 panels on the front.
Yeah, it would be done by the same artist, and this is
Sure.
the kind of
Same tones.
it's not a continuation of this.
Right.
Right,
Correct.
so it's more of a welcome to Norridgewock, you are here kind of thing.
Any idea?
Parking was
Yeah,
Parking is available.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty, what they're proposing is very infant stages. Because they didn't want to invest too much time into it, but I think the thought was like a sunrise, sunset kind of a thing. That said, welcome to Norridgewock.
and would it have any other writing on it beside that?
Just, there was some discussion about happy trails,
Just
having that on there from a trail perspective.
uh-huh.
But I think that's still in the infancy stages in terms of.
No invitation to stop,
That's what I'm.
or indicating that that is a stopping point,
So I think the club itself is looking at that sort of signage,
part of their signage, their trail signage.
directional signage off trail, like actually wing, when you're gonna be able to pull in down there. And I think the intention is for that to be themed, you'll probably hear about that down the line, for that to be themed with our gateway signage, which is the green, wood
Yeah,
grain,
Yeah.
town line style signs.
Hmm. And it'll be large, like it'll be the same kind of.
Right, I think you're probably looking at
dimensions
3 or 4 by 8.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
This new panel,
Yes,
is that, what are the sizes of the existing panels?
4 by 8.
So they're sheets of plywood. Signboard, whatever. Yeah.
I mean, I like the idea. I feel like John likes the idea of it being like a photo op stop. And honestly, if that's what it looks like and what it says, I feel like people would even stop and take pictures in front of that side as well.
No, this has nothing to do with the sign, but might be nice to have a shade tree in there somewhere. That sun, that comes if anybody stops. Give them a shady spot to be just a little aside from the rest of the stuff. Anyway,
Up on the raised,
somewhere in the park, yeah. Just a thought. Anyway. Well, I like the idea of the sign and the size of it.
It's hard to really afford it, so it makes sense.
it seems that it probably would have been part of the initial proposal that somebody thought about that
Yeah,
way in the beginning of the orientation. piece.
Kind of
The way
completes
the
the
post-
project rather than leaving it looking. for
Yeah.
things.
With the post oriented, until you actually did that, probably didn't realize it was part of the back.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
well, I make well, we don't know yet. Is that cost
If I was gonna make a motion, I would say up to $2,500.
up to 2,500?
At the discretion of John Mills. Nobody's gonna decide.
All right, I don't know, could that be, or do we all have to agree on? Can we give John that leeway?
We did in the, I think we did in the initial.
Did we?
Well,
Okay, I thought they came to us with a proposal.
they did, and then we gave it up to number to
Oh,
figure it
okay.
out, so John was trying to think is what we did, and this was concurred, which made it official.
Yeah, it was his project all along.
Okay,
So
okay,
sticking with this,
I'll make a motion that we allot $2,500 for the additional piece to the mural at the discretion. 2,500 at the discretion of John Mallett.
up to,
Yes, that's what I intended to say.
okay,
Okay, do I have to reword it again?
No.
Okay.
Richard has an editor.
You can edit it, just not too much.
You do not,
I'll second that motion.
seconded by Deanna, any further discussion? All in favor? 4. But now I'd like to talk about new business. Item 3, initial discussion regarding self-service kayak rental proposals. This is interesting.
Yeah,
Did somebody come to you with this, Mr. LaBelle, or did you?
No, we were solicited, don't know from what, whether it came from maybe the dock RFP that we had issued. Where somebody was digging, but they reached out to us with the opportunity, not knowing what we had for space necessarily. Or funding pools or anything like that. They have, I think, worked with Westbrook and Auburn
Hmm.
in the state. That they had referenced, and when I saw it, it was like, wow. It kind of does everything we want it to do, that. Puts the equipment there for people that are passing by, that want to get over the river, or people that just don't have it. Yes, it's an initial upfront cost, it's the number next 18.
Yeah.
John and I have scheduled a call with them, that's why it's preliminary, or initial rather. It's not out until next Wednesday, we're gonna have a call with an individual from the Brent Fund company, but. I gave it to him and kind of allowed him to table it if he wanted to, and he wanted to hear it out, but. Just looking to see what you guys thought would be reasonable. If it was something that if it came back to you, would TIF think that it was reasonable? You know, we just don't want to waste time, resources, and exploring it out of something that you thought would be an investment. Also, if you had any other questions, if you were initially supportive of it, if you had other questions for us to ask.
I personally love this, and I really use it myself. And so they come and maintain it as well.
Right.
All the equipment.
I have 3 kayaks and I probably would use this.
So much easier.
Because they're the top of my barn.
Yeah,
Yes.
I bought one and then returned it, so I didn't have a good place to store it, so I was like,
Yeah.
okay, let's just return that.
So
This 18,000, is that? For a 4 unit, 8 unit, 12 unit?
That's one of the questions that we have.
You just looked at it.
Yeah.
Because I would suggest that a family could wipe out the 4 unit really
For sure.
quick, so maybe the 8 would be appropriate.
yeah,
That's.
I have a small
It looks
family,
like
we would take up 3.
in all the photos that look like
then-
they
Yeah.
have
Unless the
lockers,
rest go
yeah.
along.
Right,
But it could be, like I said, I have so many that I own, but I got one more purse,
oh yeah, that's true,
so. When somebody's visiting or whatever.
so you really just need one extra, yeah, that's
So
true.
if you have a smartphone, you can use this. Are all cell phones smartphones?
Pretty much.
No.
But no.
But no.
That's what I thought. And I wonder if the particular app that you would have to have on your phone, the cost of that,
Apps usually don't cost
Like
anything,
$8
and
or
it looks kind
something.
of like they do the bikes, like you would see in the city.
It looked to me like it would be a free app, but that is a great question, Richard. To ask. You ask, and I presume they have Android and Apple options. It's like gonna be like Dunkin' Donuts, you have the app and you tie that to your credit card or debit card. Receipt sent by email,
huh?
QR code to unlock, it all sounds great. But yeah, I
Add payment information and sign the digital waiver.
yeah,
So like the kiosks that you use when you park in the city, you don't have to download an app to use those. So do you think you can do it without downloading an app?
Uh,
Like anytime I go park in the city, you have to go to the little kiosks that they have.
Secured with that.
but in some cities you have an
Yeah.
app and that's the only way you can buy it, depends on the city.
Well, this says to
I've
rent and
never had to
access.
download. I mean, that I just haven't
Or
seen,
two, in some
really?
resort areas, yeah.
Oh,
Is
you're
there one of
right.
these anywhere local?
Auburn
Auburn?
is the nearest one.
This says to rent and access equipment, the users have to have the app, download the Rent Fun app. And add payment information.
I'd be curious,
No, just that, but
I'd be curious to know if there's any. Guarantee in terms of. Condition of the equipment, are you getting all of some previous town or city gave up the program, you getting all their broken leftovers, or is there any quality guarantee?
that's what I wondered too. If there was a way to contact. And how long, I mean, this company's only been in existence since 2012. And they're in Ohio, Florida, so I just wonder how the equipment would be maintained, if they're happy with what they have in those places.
So. then there would have to be discussion, and it should be up to the selectmen to set rental fees. Right, and then also up to the selectmen what to do with their 50% retainage of the fees.
Right.
It'd be a great thing to fund out of their car.
How much it costs to rent them.
It was $18,000 for 5 years, I think.
Yes. Also wouldn't want, I mean, the pictures here, when I talk about condition of the equipment, what about condition of the cage? You know, is that a rusted old? I mean, because it looks great on the pictures,
Right,
but. You know, if I pull into a gas station to get a grill tank, right, and I see everything's rusted, the tanks, the cage, everything.
let's forget it.
I'll go to the next gas station. We don't do that. We need some sort
Well,
of
it
guarantee.
says there's the field technician.
Appearance.
That was the other thing.
I'm sorry.
It says ongoing maintenance. The field, a part-time field technician, they recruit for part-time field technician. So would the town or the rent fund, or would that field technician be an employee of rent fund or the
That's correct.
town?
Rent.
It is an employee of
Or a
rent.
subcontractor, I'm not sure how that gets treated.
I'm sorry,
Or a contractor for them, I'm not sure how that is.
so the town wouldn't have
Right.
to hire somebody.
I think their goal would be to, this person travel from host town to host town and do enough of them to make a job out of it.
Yeah, an area that they're.
And then other people be like, there's groundwork anything, right, needed for where you're gonna put it.
It says no concrete pad required, but
The one that doesn't have it, looks like they kind of leveled it out a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah, and I did. Nothing but weeds growing up through, if you know, something decent.
well, it looks like a solid bottom on the,
Yeah, no, it's just.
and it has a corrugated metal roof.
The goal probably would be to fully cover this with a camera system that's either there now or going to be there shortly.
It's there now.
Yeah.
It is. Does that, which way is it aimed? I mean,
Can't tell you.
We don't want you to know.
No, I'm just wondering as.
Kenny's
Like-
trying to start on the camera.
I know exactly what it's gonna see, but that's not a matter of. public.
So, okay,
Where the cameras are.
okay, so these things will probably be located up where the boats, where people pull in with their trailers.
Yeah,
I would assume.
so would the goal be that a person lugs these kayaks from the locker area down to the new boat launch area, correct?
Yeah.
Not the swimming area or any other area. Down to the, so I would think it wouldn't be too far from that. You wouldn't be on the other side of the park.
You're probably looking at that, as you look at the park in the fenced in area on the right, but the parking spot right closest to the
Yeah.
landing area.
Okay,
That would make sense. I just
so it's not too
wanted to
far.
be sure the cameras were aimed.
We don't own them, so candidly, they're responsible for insurance and maintenance.
Right. Right.
Right, but anything that becomes an attraction for vandals. The chances are that they don't stop there.
That's correct.
I mean, hopefully having cameras in the park now minimize that a little bit anyway.
If it doesn't, it will.
Right.
Right. Right. I'm very much in favor initially, but I think you just wanted initially. And some additional Q and A for your meeting coming up.
Yeah, we didn't want to go into it and say, okay, well, the $18,000 was a stop loss or something like that.
Okay, so we have to, everything the park system needs to manage and track. To track the performance of the program. So the town would have to check on how much it's utilized, revenue reports, customizable hours of operation, and
I think that's what the
Maintenance
app will
figures.
tell them
Yeah,
I think, yeah, the bottom half of this
Okay.
page is a dashboard of Richard.
yeah,
Yeah.
it lists all that,
You
yeah,
needed more to do, right? So that's an admin page that you have access to,
right,
to make sure that it's getting used.
Yeah.
And you'd want all that in 5 years' time.
And then what happens during the winter? They just sit over the winter.
Yeah, maybe they come and take them out.
Other-
Mhm.
Maybe they come and take them out.
probably it's better that way.
But then again, they would have to take a storm all, move them all.
Oh.
Chances are they're leaving like that.
So
Does
you'd have to
look like
make
it.
sure it was put in a place that didn't affect plowing.
Right, we'd be able to get that open, but once
Oh, really? Okay.
you leave it too open, then people come in.
Sure.
Kayak on.
Looks like there's a rain cap on this thing.
Yeah,
Roofish.
it has a corrugated.
Slant.
Well, solar, right? The solar on the roof,
Something's gotta operate the darn thing.
solar inside.
Solar power.
Yes,
Cellular, or will they want access to your Wi-Fi?
cellular.
Cellular locks. Nope.
Yep, no Wi-Fi required.
Right.
And we get a discount if we have access to the Wi-Fi and don't have to pay a cell phone bill. Wow, cell phones aren't cheap or not. That's a question I can't believe.
I can tell you one thing that I did come up with on my own, and that was that if you look closely here and there was a discussion about bikes.
Yeah,
In this?
Yeah, somewhere in there,
Optional?
and I wonder what the palette would be on that. Should I be asking some questions about that? If they had appropriate bikes, not for street riding, but for trail riding.
Ooh, yeah.
That would be really cool.
that's
Right.
another spot for another day and actually wing or downtown.
That would be cool, though, no, that was an option, that would be.
It would be nice to have it downtown.
It would, but I think your real estate choked a little bit there. Right,
It's not a lot of real estate, right?
nothing to. Not a lot of extra real estate.
Would the town still consider purchasing or investing in renovating the old wreath factory at all? Helping
Purchasing,
renovate it? No, we
Yes.
wouldn't, we would to knock it down.
probably. Renovating it is a hard no. I think when we
It is.
toured it 3 or 4 years ago, it was pretty evident
did.
that the building was borderline dangerous.
It was 20 years ago when I.
Right.
Well,
I mean, we've got interior documentation of the building's condition and we get complaints on it,
Well,
Once or twice.
it's in it.
but it's privately owned and so
Yeah, he's
that has to
still,
be approached from a different level.
yeah, I didn't know if
Yeah.
he's the one that has to apply for the grants if he wants to renovate things, I mean.
Right.
I don't think the owner, a private owner would probably be qualified for a whole lot.
Right, probably not. Okay, anyway, aside from that, does the town own the potato sheds? You know,
Those are
what I mean by the tracks,
Those are private.
that is.
Yep.
Oh, is that owned by New Balance?
The land is, but not the buildings.
Okay. Okay. Just thinking of possible sites for bicycle.
Did you get what you were looking for from this committee?
I did, thank you. Very good.
So more questions to get answers to.
Put them in.
But I didn't hear any, I guess, that if you were looking for. How this committee might vote in the future.
Perfect.
I just had a question, would the town still install another rack next to it for people that just want to leave a kayak there with locks? And the town could charge,
That was the intent of.
that was the original thing, yeah,
That John was gonna build.
yeah, yeah.
I think that's probably, it's approved, it's on the table. John has found somebody that makes those actually, that would be doing it for less than what he had estimated he'd be able to do it for.
Oh.
I think once we flesh out more information on this, I think that's something that the committee can come back and look at, because from my perspective, it sounds great if you can't get anything else there, but then you
Right.
also are subject to, maybe somebody's just putting their kayak there and leaving it there all summer and all winter. And all
That's what
summer.
we're charging.
Well, right.
And then when do you get to remove it and not have repercussions?
Well,
That's.
does this outfit offer additional spaces for that purpose? Right, so they mentioned a 4, an 8, or a 12, I mean, can you get a 12 and only 8 kayaks and those other 4 spaces are for short-term rentals?
Do we know what the rental fee is?
Yeah, anywhere between $5 and $20 an hour.
It's a big span.
That's just what, that was what was in that
Was that in?
paper that they had distributed.
Up to the top.
Right, yeah, the town was separate.
Oh, okay, so they're. Okay, the town pays the fee to join. And then the town sets the rate
I think it's 50%.
for rentals and we get 50% of whatever we.
Thank you.
I think the trick will be setting the rate
Mm,
low enough to attract usage.
Can you adjust the rate
Also,
once you've set it, if people aren't using it because it's too high, or if it's like overflow because it's too low, or? Can you adjust it at any time, or is it that whatever you set it
For 5 years.
Yeah.
more good questions.
I'm pretty sure the answers would better be that you can adjust it whenever you want.
Yeah.
Nothing else you want to adjust for seasonality,
Oh,
because you might pay $10 an hour in July, but you might only pay $5 an hour right now.
Right now in October, right?
I'm not paying money.
And that would make a lot of sense. Okay. Anybody else said it? Read the 3A. 3B, hoping that you have something for us there with the committee discussion regarding other potential project proposals.
I had nothing.
There's nothing for it.
What I have is, well, I was hoping for was that you folks might have something for me, and if not, we can at least get you thinking about it, but. We branched out a lot just because of public requests in terms of where we're funding. And I don't know, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months ago, maybe. I had put a pie chart together of where we've kind of been allocating these funds. Over the period of time, it seems like you're dumping a lot of money into parks, and in reality, it's less than 10% of what we've spent has gone into parks. Kind of give you that perspective, but we've invested a lot in infrastructure where we're able to. Marketing has been kind of a drop in the bucket, but what we've done has been highly visible with signage, with Chamber of Commerce activity, sponsorships. And then we've got the facade improvement program. And that's the extent really of what we've been doing. We've been creative about how we spend money to try to funnel money to equipment for the fire department, 10,000, whatever it was for a request here or there, but that's been about it. So the question for you folks is it a project? Is it a program that we can come up with that might help with economic development opportunity here in the community? That would, you know, as long as it falls under economic development, I'm sure we can get it into the program, the overall TIF program, but just looking for you guys to come up with different ideas, so it's not centralized. I think there's a perception that everything's centralized from administration, that this is where the money's from, and we want everybody to be involved in it, so.
The economic development is supposed to be the whole purpose
Mhm.
of what we do. And, you know, you can argue quite successfully all day long that programs like this, you know, draw people to your town, it's always going to be positive. I like the facade improvement program. Not so much because we're putting public money into private buildings, that's not it, but it's the partnership aspect of it that I like. It's the partnership between public money that has been specifically allocated to economic development. And you're trying to use that as seed money to stimulate growth and activity and business and draw people to Norridgewock, you know, and what you're really trying to do is seed private money. Right, and for those reasons, I like the facade improvement program. So any kind of. It's great to go spend $15,000 for some piece of equipment at the fire station. Great, we appreciate it, thank you. But that doesn't stimulate anything to them. So I would like to see something similar to the facade improvement program in that we're using this to stimulate and match and seed additional investment by private businesses. What that looks like, I don't know.
What's the status for all of these buildings downtown that are? I don't really know how to word it,
They're eyesores.
Well, it's safety too, because I had that on my list with like when we were leaving the mural thing. We kids are running up the road and there's like the steps, it's like
Yes.
concrete steps, there's like barbs hanging out of it and stuff.
Yeah.
That was on my list.
So the sidewalk project that you kind of heard parts and pieces about is a project that started here. And I went and applied for a grant with the state. They ended up pulling federal money in. It's gonna be about $2.5 million sidewalk upgrades. And that's going to extend sidewalks down into Usula Park. It will also, that's what old TIF people remember, the lighting. Remember we were doing street lights, we picked up the lights that we
Yes,
had
yes.
over 10 meetings. Those are being funded under that program, and so we'll have the decorative street lamps uniformly with wreath holders and flagpole holders from the bank down to Cumberland Farms, and they'll be uniform, both sides of the street. So that's a big project that's going to come in and it's going to take care of some of those things, and the difficult conversations that the state's going to start having to have are points of egress for a lot of these buildings, because those concrete steps are going to be removed. And they're not going to be allowed to be put back in because they're not on private property, it's on public property. So,
Things people have just added over the years and didn't ask any questions.
right, and everybody's just, the town is not invested, really, let's be honest, nothing has been invested in the sidewalks downtown. Straight face since Judy Scott did CDBG in the late 80s, early 90s.
1993, when they put the sewer in, was the last real infrastructure investment down there.
Is there any future possibility for like less residential buildings and more retail?
There always is. The process of acquiring real estate that's privately held now for public gain is difficult. The select board's not opposed to it, but it's going to be fully substantiated. I can tell you that one of the things, not to get too deep into it, but with the rail trail coming through, people that are right near the rail trail, very likely their buildings are on somebody else's property, if not in full, but 50%. The one right at the train tracks, the large apartment building, is on state property. Probably half to 3/4 of that
I
building.
think there's two homes on the tracks, one on opposite each side of
Yeah.
Mechanic Street.
And so the state's been trying to work with them, but the owners aren't responsive.
Huh.
And they've been willing to sell them land or buy them out and things like that. And you just can't get the owners to respond.
No, they just, the longer they push it out, the more rent checks they get.
Right. So,
Why upset that apple cart?
and so say you did acquire that, this is a for instance, but say you acquired that large building right on the tracks on Main Street. You take it down, you're not gonna rebuild for retail space, you just got more green space because of the rail trail there. You don't really have the footprint to put anything there.
Right.
And then
That's
this-
what my concern is, and I don't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead. I
No,
thought
go
you
ahead.
were done. I mean, this is the downtown. if the state buys out this and buys out that. State's gonna do what it wants to do, whatever that might be, widening a road. Who knows, you know? So I can understand if I lived on the tracks, I wouldn't necessarily like living there, but I don't know, how do we know how much the state is offering these people for their homes or?
Well, I don't think they're out,
For,
they're trying to work with them.
or
so
if
they're
they
trying to
would
say
just
something
purchase.
Sounds like they're trying to have a discussion,
Right, and
they're the
you,
only one in the room.
Right.
what it sounds.
so it's difficult to navigate, and then you have a unique, you just have a unique layout of the downtown where. Which you can't really use a lot of what's already there, so. In a perfect world, you'd get that building and you'd have one unit upstairs, maybe of residential. And the downstairs would be commercial, retail. space.
Commercial, yeah,
And you get that mixed use, but I think it's beyond that for that structure to be something that would be realized.
Right now, we have retail space there that's going unused anyway,
Right,
you mean,
30 feet away.
but,
the driving school.
oh, I thought that was under, I thought someone was buying that.
Well, under contract just means you've got to hold on it. This market, everybody's under contract to continue to show.
When I say unused, I mean,
Right, it has,
so they would spend money on anything.
Well, I think it's logistics that causes people to not be in there, right? I mean, isn't it
You have that.
not,
I think the
Really?
condition of the building.
yeah, the
I-
condition is.
I just wish there was something we could do downtown to make it attractive for small businesses to locate there. I mean, there's not a lot of space, but.
Well,
we
if the
did
building
have-
was in better condition, I
Right.
feel like
Right.
people would utilize the space. I mean, I've heard people talking about wanting that space, but once they look into it. It's not
It's too
really,
much money to renovate it or whatever.
yeah,
But I'm the one to say, we can do 25,000 for your exterior. You know, we can do sidings, we can do windows, doors, roof on that building right now, it's vacant. We can do a roof. That roof is visible, fully visible in public way now. I think you talk about lighting inside, if you've got drop outs, they're gonna make it look better from the curb.
windows are,
Awful, right, so we can do all of that, it's just a matter of making sure people are aware of it. But right, you've got, in that instance, you've got somebody that's just not a motivated seller, they want what they want and they're gonna get it or they're not, you know.
And away from the facade, the airport parking lot has not been paved yet,
That's correct,
but that money was approved.
that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just double checking.
We sent out for estimates, cost estimates on it, and they're all over budget, substantially over budget. So we are gonna wait probably until midwinter and then try to see
Try again.
new proposals.
Yeah.
But something, you know, whether it's a TIF funded, town owned. Building or infrastructure or something that can seed and attract private investment. I'm not the greatest idea person when it comes to this stuff, so.
it's that building that we're just talking about actually for sale. Do you know for how much for?
No,
No,
So that owner couldn't come to us and be like, I want to upgrade it or whatever.
the owner of that building did come to us and the proposal that was on the table. Didn't have gusto, how's that? And the nature of the business was excluded from the program guidelines.
Oh, I thought, didn't we put that green siding on that building or did we not?
We did not.
No. Okay. So,
The applicant came in
I
and felt the committee was non-responsive and the applicant did not show back up for a second.
Okay. Oh,
I remember all
yeah, I remember.
No, I heard.
Yeah.
that.
Hmm. Well,
The other idea, well, not really ideas, like I'm not really ideas, so much throwing out there, was kind of, not marketing, but I feel like there's a lot of people that don't know, like, what the TIF committee can do, even for them, especially the facade. Is there ever been like, I don't even know, like flyers or like mail out to the people who would qualify for or anything?
So when we first came up with the facade improvement program, I sent out 50 mailers. We've put in full pages into the town report. I have selectively targeted businesses in the community that I thought might benefit from it. Yeah, a business right on Main Street, Lower Main Street, went and made exterior improvements, and I reached out to them, and they just did not want to be a part of the facade improvement. Which is kind of unfortunate. A, we'd like to be a part of it, but B, it's, leaving 50% on the table. So you've just got that. Some people, whether it's a fundamental difference, just doesn't think that maybe the committee has a role in their business, and I get that, but
Maybe people who have already utilized the program could post on like social media
I know,
platforms, say.
like dream.
Yeah. Programs and tasks that help us do all the stuff.
So we have some that would probably do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
we have a giant check. We have an oversized check from the TIF committee that you can fill out with whatever you want on it. The problem that we ran into since we got it was, COVID, and then came building delays. And so these projects aren't fresh and exciting anymore. It's like it took you 3 years to get them done. And so then there really wasn't a ton of traction behind.
I think it's getting a little better at this point.
Right. But, just the timeline for people to get their work done wasn't right there. Because it's like, ideally, we can put something together for them to go in and welcome them to town, and maybe we pay their first year at the Chamber of Commerce, something that we get into, I don't know. But there's got to be something that's collective so that we can separate this from program, aside from the businesses going out and spending more money to promote themselves and me just showing up with a flag.
Yeah.
So, and I know you're all volunteers and things to do every day, but that's kind of right gap of.
But if we don't have anyone applying, then I have another question, is probably with the rules, if somebody has applied for the facade, but they didn't get the full 25,000, can they come back with a new project? Or
Yes. Yep.
I didn't know about reaching back out to those people if they knew that. I wasn't sure, but-
On that program, and I don't have the guidelines in front of me. And I know it's up to 25,000, matching though, up to 25,000, right? In other words, there's no way we get into for more than 50% of the total cost. Is that true?
Under the way it is now, yes.
Thank you.
So
So if
I'm,
they have a if they have a $30,000 project, we're not paying 25.
right,
No,
I only pay off receipts, cancel checks. Yeah.
So if they have a $30,000 project and the whole project qualified, they could get up to 15.
That's right.
Yeah. I just didn't have it in front of me. I want to make sure I was.
And that's something that we could look at. Theoretically taking out, we could take out a flyer in the Chamber of Commerce newsletter that goes out once a month. It's actually very reasonable to put out something to say, hey, well, come to Norridgewock, invest in Norridgewock. This is our tax rate. This is what we've got. The problem is we don't have building stock. We don't have real estate to offer them. So it's just existing business, which is one of the best in your existing business, but you also want to get somebody to come into a vacant.
do we have a vision for the town? Like, do we want it to remain a village or? Are people just willing to do things
Well, that
to
revitalization
promote sprawl, more or less?
You're right.
that kind of had showed our. Right, what our
Yeah. I feel like
dream was,
she was on that committee.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that way,
I don't
our
remember.
the whole vision, I don't remember exactly what it looked like, but.
So there were in that, one of the big things that came out of that, where we had a list of businesses that we wanted. We had a list of obstacles to getting what we wanted. We had things that were attractive for the, it was a SWOT analysis, things that were attractive about our community, things that gave us the competitive
Right.
advantage.
Right.
pretty much people wanted to see was they wanted to see development in the core area.
Downtown. Yeah, yeah,
But one of the obstacles is lack of stock, whether it's real estate or building.
right, right.
So that's kind of where we're at. We chipped off a couple of the big things. One of them's gonna be the sidewalks. That was a big project in the revitalization plan. One was the restaurant.
Uh-huh,
That was a huge block in that, and they had even, the committee had asked them to do renderings, and they had put that on as a rendering. Different color, but an upgraded restaurant there, and then the green space across the street, they wanted to see that, yes, those are. Some of the bigger projects, but I pulled that out. John Lynch had actually asked for the revitalization plan.
uh-huh.
It's fine, I pulled that out probably 3 months ago. And then peeling through it, see what we've got and what we don't have.
When that process was going through, I kept pointing to the river and I said, that's our asset, that's our asset.
That
We need
the
to
airport.
Use that river.
Yeah,
And, you know, and we're doing a number of things from new boat launch to swimming to maybe kayaks.
I have
So
to.
that's great. Thank you, Ruth.
And those concerts in the park that were
Were great.
happening, those
Yeah.
were a pretty huge hit, weren't they?
They were.
Or, it was a win.
Great.
Right,
Thank you.
the Parks Committee.
Thanks, Ruth.
Yeah, I heard so much talk about how much people enjoyed that.
I would still like to see a public tip funded investment somewhere to stimulate private investment. But Richard's right, if you don't have real estate and infrastructure in the right spot and have a need identified, well, this town needs whatever business this town needs.
How do we find out the price on that building that
I want to say it's 75.
it's not on realtor.com because I saw that too.
But I mean, Chucky's here. I don't want to involve him in the conversation, but I'll refer to him. And that's that a large portion of land that is in proximity to town is held in agricultural. So you come in on Route 8 and that's, you've got probably 1,000 acres that's held in agriculture that you just can't free up. You go out 137, it's out 139, it goes Waterville, it's similar. You go out Route 2, it's similar. You run into farmland.
Well, isn't it likely that 100 years from now, whatever the downtown looks like for Norridgewock is probably not downtown? Right, I mean, you've seen it a little bit with, call it sprawl, call it, you know. There's only so much you can do. You could spend $1 billion downtown and it's still a postage stamp with not a lot of options, right? So isn't that likely that 100 or 200 years downtown Norridgewock is gonna be over there, right?
I don't know, but I mean, I think bringing the rail trail in and then adding more interest to like the park area, I feel like that expands our downtown. Not like, yeah, I mean, and putting sidewalks to get you down to the park. So I mean, I feel like it's expanding rather than relocating. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
115.
At 75 better.
From what is on the market.
So we did get an audience of one. I'll ask Chuck, what should the TIF committee be looking at for projects for economic development? What do you think?
I'm just listening.
Well-
Well, a question or two though. Has the TIF money put any money into the sewer district?
No. No,
Or equipment or anything?
No.
No equipment?
I don't believe it's.
Sorry, the TIF committee allocated $25,000 for mapping. And televising the lines. That was just recently.
How much did they put in the fire department? They put a couple $100,000 that years ago, didn't it?
That's candidly one of the main reasons why the TIF was set up was to support the funding of the fire department construction. I think it was 250.
Or 200, it was a big number.
Yeah.
And since then, TIF has funded, I'm gonna say 3-ish small fire department projects, equipment stuff, equipment.
Now, I'll bring this up, I ain't supposed to, stick my nose in the lung, isn't putting water every place? Community thing, the economic enhancement and everything. I got the answer, I went to your meeting that, go to the town and said, they don't wanna give it up, I don't think you've been asked, anyone's asked it.
What do you mean?
Asked about, get some of that TIF money to help you with your water line,
Oh.
you told me, no, they don't wanna give it up, and no.
In general, the water district has been. Against expanding the system because we can't afford to maintain the system that we have now. That's been fundamentally the problem in the water district for my 25 years there. And so any expansion of the system has, for as long as I can remember, been the cost of the developer. We've had people come and say, we'd like to put a housing development on the airport road. We'd like you to extend the water main all the way to. No, but you're welcome to do that, Mr. Developer, because it's not up to the cost, or not up to the ratepayers in the town to support your housing development. And so we've had those things in the past.
No, this project you got going now, you need money worse than hell.
We need all kinds of money. We always need money. The one for, that we're talking about, the one we're doing on Main Street.
Yeah, I mean, why can't you? Why wouldn't that be a good deal? Put some of that into that. I mean, you need water. I mean,
Maybe I'll present something at the next meeting.
Great, we're gonna counter that rate increase.
Yeah. In by law, the town already funds 30-ish% of the water district
through the hydrants, right?
through, technically, it's unlimited access, unlimited consumption of fire protection water. And so they get a bill for 30% of the water district budget, which is $300,000 a year, something like that, 250, 300,000 a year.
We pay about 85,000.
That's for the rental.
That's for use of the hydrants, the maintenance of the hydrants, the water and whatnot.
Right.
Who owns them? Jesus, they seem like they got the best deal.
The water district owns the hydrants.
They're also responsible for maintaining them.
And we're responsible for maintaining them, we're responsible for maintaining the pipes to them and all that. But by law, the municipality pays a fixed percentage, currently 30% of our operating budget. So that's how, and I don't like the way it's worded in the town report, I've never liked it, but it says hydrant rental. It's unlimited access to fire protection water is what it is.
Yeah, you can shut them off. That's what's
It's. You can have fire every day of the year and you get all the water you want for only this small little number of 85,000. So, I think my appetite would be pretty low. For further subsidizing the water district. And I would think that would probably be a common theme in the development, selectmen, I think.
TIF money, because this infrastructure is gonna be a one-shot deal.
Well, that was back in the 50s when you put it in, that was the one shot deal. I think that the TIF committee in our town would have a better time justifying supporting the sewer department or the water department if it was to reach new development.
Yeah,
We were building out new lines, and there's a very nice chunk of change that could be allocated under the TIF guidelines. Or the plan itself that says if you reach development, if you had a housing development, or you had commercial development. It's a couple few $1 million that would assist in that build out.
if somebody come and said, I want to put a brand new hardware store. Out by the Masonic Lodge. Our water main doesn't go out, that'd be a great use of TIF funds or a housing development or. A business that we don't have. That would be a good use of TIF funds.
So we do have a hardware store coming, so.
Yeah, I've now heard that, so maybe I'd change my mind on that one, but some other thing that we need that we don't have.
Where is the hardware store?
Next.
Nickerson's at the end of Bigelow Hill Road.
I did not know that.
You see where they've taken a bunch of trees out? And then you look behind those trees they took out and you go, oh, I didn't know they built that building. Yeah, it's a big building.
Oh,
They gonna.
Well, then.
Building on them. Anything on the building now, right?
I don't know, the initial footprint is for, there's office space and then there's retail space.
Yeah, absolutely,
That's it, yeah,
Original plans there, but.
that's it.
Yep, so maybe that was a bad example, but if somebody wanted to. What about, when I see the rail trail. And there's money being spent by the state there, and we've spent some money for sure. Some of it we've spent, some of it the state has spent and given us. But is there a way that we can stimulate additional business that serves that rail trail? And when I say that, I don't mean more restaurants or markets or that bars or anything. I'm talking about, it would seem to me that this town needs a ATV or snowmobile repair dealership connected to the trail in some manner,
oh, that's a good point. I didn't really think of that.
right? Get your tires fixed here or whatever.
Hoses and stuff, little stuff that you could.
Million things that
Yeah.
go wrong when you're out there, right? Is there, and of course it comes down to real estate. I don't know how to get that. But
Maybe Eric can add that, right? Just show him.
yeah, but what I guess what you'd hope is that Eric would add that to his shop because he's almost connected.
Yeah.
Or that somebody would put in a place that was connected to the trail. That maybe they need a public push assistance. Those kind of, that's
Like,
economic.
spot that up now.
We're too far away.
Oh, yeah, you need you need a spur. Didn't think about that, but yeah, I mean, somebody that's either connected or not that far off trail that service those types of things.
Yeah,
Because I don't think getting gas is gonna be a problem, I don't think getting something to eat is gonna be a problem.
right.
Whether you choose a restaurant or a market, we have options. But getting that new belt, getting,
Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought of that. You break down, you're kind of done.
maybe somebody would like to start that kind of business and needs a public
Well, where to
support.
put it is the problem.
That's all. If we were out west, right, with it, although, but most of the land is public, you have
Yeah,
options, but we're not, we're just, the land is private. But it would seem that this town needs something like that. And it doesn't
Well,
have,
doodle some ideas of where to put that.
it doesn't have to be publicly owned land. It could be that the owner of existing land, and that's some of their entity, that's some of their, what they bring to the table. They have a desire and they own the land and they need a public push in the form of assistance, which would require a business plan and all kinds of stuff, but.
There was that house downtown that does the detailing, maybe they'd be interested in adding on to their business. Are they still there?
No,
Oh,
that was beside my old house.
okay.
No,
Scratch that.
Scratch. yeah. But that is connected,
Right, yeah,
you know, I don't know, you know where I used to live, but all those properties along Main Street, from Ainsley's all the way down through were connected to the rail trail. Not that I wanna see a house be removed and a business go in necessarily.
You get that building that's the house there, and it's a. I mean, that's an option, right? There's no street parking,
blue house, the blue house.
used to be pink, now it's brown,
Oh, yeah, there's a blue one there too, but
yeah,
they're both pretty.
but
close.
once it's that. And you know, but with the rail trail connection, that creates an opportunity for something.
It does.
No, that's good.
People say, well, we want you to keep apartment listings, whatever, there aren't any, so. It's like real estate is just there. Largely, you know about it.
And for a business like that. Let me just look at John Hardy, right, that he requires space.
Yeah,
And you're not gonna get that in the downtown. That type of business might be best just on the other side of the river or up
Right.
by Ashley Wing somewhere, not on what exists today, but I mean, there's other parcels privately owned that somebody could decide to do that.
That is, I mean, there's a handful of large parcels that are owned. Even by people that aren't around here.
I'd be pretty supportive of somebody who wanted to build that business with access to the Kennebec Valley Trail. Gotta bring in business.
does Hardix not work on ATVs or anything like that?
I don't know the answer to that for sure. But that is certainly not what all the signs say. The signs say get your lawnmower, your snow blower, right? It doesn't say ATVs and snowmobile. They might work on them, I don't know.
No, they don't, I mean, he's got 3 months work
I think he's got all he can do now.
right out there, he's got 2, he's got 4 full-time mechanics now. So you're gonna pull in there and 1.
Let's say a business like Hardy's wanted to expand and put in a Hardy's too. And do that,
Yeah,
I'd be all over that. It's gonna be in the lake, what's that?
Main Street.
Yeah, there's lots of locations, Wayne Street, does not represent a big chunk of land either.
Is that cleaned up yet?
I don't have you.
I missed you the other night. I spent my whole night there, I never saw you once.
Get the crime solved.
No comment.
All right, well, I think that gives us a pretty good list of things, and then I'll roll that up in draft minutes, and then I'll pull those ideas out, put them into the body of the email, get them up to everybody, maybe get them thinking too. And yeah. And I made a couple notes here for myself, of things that I came up with over the course of the conversation I'm looking to.
is it something you could put on like the town Facebook page, like saying like we're open for suggestions of ways to improve the downtown, or
What do you want to see?
yeah, like what types of things would you like to see in town or things like that? Bit of broader reach of ideas.
Okay. I'm going to table other business, adjournment probably technically happened at 8 minutes of 6 when Ruth left. But I guess, we don't need to vote. We've completed the items on our agenda.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.